Video games are a dime a dozen. Whether it's a AAA company or indie developer, we constantly have new games releasing, many of which are terrible. With gacha games, it's even worse, with an extra layer of live service and gambling baked into each one of these, and when one of them shuts down, all your money and time goes poof in an instant. I've played plenty of good games, and bad ones, but there are ones that are so bad that they should be used as a lesson on how not to run a game at all. Today we're going to go over 3 massive gacha game failures. Why these specifically? Because each failed spectacularly in a different way and have pretty funny stories. Also, if you enjoy this type of video, consider subscribing to the channel and I'll be making more. Idols. You love them, I love them, we all love idols! Idol culture is a huge deal in Japan and has basically become a cult. Scenes shown in the anime Oshi no Ko aren't too far off of what actual fans will act like and the devotion or worship some of the people have. There's all sorts of stalking issues, and idols can't be in any sort of relationships either. Recently, an idol named Momoko Tojo posted a picture of her celebrating her 20th birthday with a young male celebrating with her who was most likely her boyfriend. As punishment, she was forced by her company to post a goodnight video of her alone every night for the next year to make up for her sins. Momoko, if you're held against your will, then in tonight's photo, please post a picture of you watching this video. Please notice me, Momoko. If you think K-pop Twitter fans are bad, well, these idol fans actually go outside, which I'm unsure if that's actually better or worse for the rest of us. I distinctly remember walking around Akihabara in Tokyo, middle of the day, when people were supposed to be at work, and seeing fully suited up Japanese businessmen with briefcases roaming around the 3rd floor of a store where the only product was pictures of idols in different outfits and purchasing them. They were straight up inspecting each of these cards like it was an archaeological dig site and they held a relic. But like, what do you even do with these cards? Use them in battle? Well, eventually 2 huge franchises popped up in anime idol culture, which are Love Live and Idolmaster. Today we'll be talking about a game under the umbrella of Love Live, namely a game called Love Live School Idol Festival 2 Miracle Live. It just rolls right off the tongue. We're already to a great start. This franchise had plenty of games in the past and fans are always looking for something new. On January 24th, this tweet released saying, "We are excited to break the news to you that the global version of Love Live School Idol Festival 2 Miracle Live is launching soon in February 2024. Finally, a new Love Live game." Let me just go get my wallet real quick. However, we also want to inform you that the global version will close its doors on May 31st, 2024 and cease in-app purchases accordingly. Bruh. I have never in my entire life seen a game announce its release and shut down in the same exact post. Like, it didn't even have a chance to see if it would survive. The game was basically aborted. And what do they mean in-app purchases? Who the hell is gonna spend money on a game that isn't even gonna survive a few months? These people, these guys right here. I don't know who they are, but man, they were really desperate for this game. God have mercy on their souls. Maybe they just didn't know it was going to be shut down? I lie awake at night wondering why they even spent a dime on this game. Did they charge back their credit cards? This game actually had purchases enabled until the literal final minute of the game, which is insane to me how it could try to be that big of a cash grab. Is that even legal? Well, the game was basically just a rhythm game where you could pull your favorite Love Live characters and use them in your roster. But realistically, the characters didn't really matter too much since it was a mostly skill-based game anyways. There isn't really too much to speak on the game since it lasted so little time, but what's weird is why they even end of service some of the other Love Live games to prepare for this one, so what's going on here? And why is this game even a gacha anyways? Guess it's to scam the 15 people who gave it money? Idol fans are willing to buy anything for their Oshi, so it's surprising that this game didn't even try but just died like a fish on land. Next is a game from an incredibly notorious franchise, the Taimanin series. Originally starting as a Japanese eroge, the Taimanin series had a lot of games over the years and even anime adaptations. Its popularity mostly comes from, well, it's giant. The story is about anti-demon ninjas tasked with slaying criminal demons and eliminating dangerous organizations. Many may find this series ridiculous, but hey, the entire Fate series started off as a hentai so well, maybe this isn't so bad. In fact, this series pioneered a genius idea. In most live service games, you log in to collect gems or whatever currency you use to pull, further your account, you know, the usual. In Taimanin Asagi Battle Arena, they went for the opposite. They added a special NTR login bonus where if you don't log in, you get cucked and your waifu's stolen by the nice looking gentleman in the back. So instead of a reward, I suppose a punishment would make you want to log in more? However, this isn't even the right Taimanin game I wanted to talk about. No, the real incident occurred in a game called Taimanin RPGX Ecstasy. I made a video over a month ago about a hentai PvP game that I quite enjoy and think is good. However, this situation is much the opposite. Originally released in 2018 in Japan, they decided to release the Ecstasy version globally in 2023, 5 whole years later, which I mean, damn, by that point, does anyone even care? Who was waiting 5 years for this game? Regardless, the game released, and it's a turn-based RPG with gearing and character formations, not really anything super special. I can't believe Honkai Star Rail copied this game. But here's what's important, the game's monetization. First of all, the game's pity was 300 pulls, which is insane. However, it did have mileage rewards in between, but that's still crazy. Then it had a battle pass. I mean, of course it did. At this point, it's fairly standard, right? But then it also had a VIP system which needs real money to level up and gives perks. So far, doesn't really look that amazing in terms of monetization, but hey, maybe the game's actually pretty generous. As you increase bond level with characters, you can get 500 crystals for level 4 or 1,000 for level 5. And since a 10 pull only costs 500 crystals, we can get a decent amount of pull, and the devs nerfed it. Yep, that's right. The devs accidentally gave too many rewards out for gaining bond with characters and reduced it to about 1/4 of what it was. Alright, I mean, this is obviously really bad, but maybe we can solve this problem. Maybe the game's generous in other ways. I can probably save up enough oh no. Turns out that they not only nerfed the gem amounts, also retroactively took back gems, meaning if you already used them to pull, you now have a negative balance of currency on your account. You're in debt and the Taimanin police are knocking on your door. People were literally tens of thousands of gems in debt, which is hundreds of dollars minimum, and who's gonna slave away grinding for that or pay the company? This was all only a week after the game's release as well. Would you rather A, spend weeks grinding out the currency, B, spend your paycheck on the gems, or C, uninstall the game? Naturally, almost everybody quit the game and it ended service about 7 months after launch, which is crazy that it actually lasted that long. I guess if you think about it, some AAA games recently have lasted even less time than this scummy game, so I guess as gacha players' brains have rotted beyond repair and will put up with anything. This game's insane mismanagement immediately killed it. However, the Japanese server is still alive, so it shows how a publisher can easily kill a game. They even put out this wonderful picture to celebrate Pregnancy Awareness Month, so glad the game's healthy, I guess? Finally, let's talk about the third game. In a lot of ways, I might consider this one to be the worst. Why? Because I really hate IP-based gacha games. An existing property morphed into a game to feed off your love for a series. I'm sure many of us have heard of One Punch Man, the anime about a man who has reached the pinnacle of baldness. And I guess he hits pretty hard too. An overall really loved series with fun action, good humor. So of course, since at least one person would probably spend money on this, a Japanese company said, let's make this into a live service gacha game, which at a surface level looks like a decent game. But let's quickly talk about how this game already had one foot in the grave before it launched. Crunchyroll, the publisher, has become fairly notorious in the gacha industry and has published a few gacha games previously, but an important one was a game called Princess Connect Redive. This game was fairly popular in Japan and many players were excited for it in the West. It lasted around 2 years here before it was shut down, which is a decent amount of time for a gacha game. But here's the strange part. It made no sense why the game was shut down. The game was reportedly still doing well and making money at least $1 million per month and had a fairly active player base. Hell, even today the game is still updated in Japan and doing fine, but it was shut down completely out of nowhere. All the players' progress and time went poof and got Thanos snapped. They barely had any time to say goodbye, truly. Needless to say, the players were pissed. Imagine if your favorite game suddenly called end of service out of nowhere when it's doing completely fine. You'd probably feel kind of wronged as well, right? And then the game One Punch Man World released, published by Crunchyroll. So already, many potential players were wary without even trying it. Next, let's get into the game. First, it's an IP-based gacha game, which almost guarantees it's garbage when you see the literal hundreds of slop IP gacha games that release every year. IP-based gachas survive on their IP. That's the entire point of their existence. They don't need to make an original world or characters to gain a following, they just copy-paste from the series. In this case, the series is One Punch Man. You probably assume that you either play as the main character Saitama, maybe Genos, or maybe you make your own character and you roam around the world. Nope, the story mainly follows Lightning Max. That's like if you played Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero and the only storyline and playable character you could play as, Yamcha. The game itself is actually alright for a mobile game. It's action combat where you play as one character with a party of allies. You have basic attack skills, ults, dodges, nothing crazy, but it's fine. Now for the overworld, this game is literally just a copy of Yakuza series, having Kiryu walking around Japan, going into stores, buying food, minigames, and talking to people. They even lifted an entire minigame from Yakuza Like a Dragon in the movie theater, which is like, you really thought that no one would notice this? But let's get to the real meat and potatoes of this entire situation. The monetization. Man, there is so much to say about this. First, guess what? They use a system with a familiar rate of 0.6% with a garbage 50-50 chance of getting the character you want. Amazing. However, it's somehow even worse because if you lose your 50-50 on the banner and are now guaranteed the banner character on the next 5-star, this doesn't carry over to the next banner. So somehow losing the 50-50 is even more punishing. You can literally lose a 50-50 2 banners in a row without getting either character that you wanted. And now let's talk about something even worse, the re-rolling in this game, because it's just criminal. Like, there should be a law against this. Some gacha games let you reroll easily, while others make it a bit harder and you'd have to delete your data and restart everything again or have a long tutorial. One Punch Man World made rerolling bannable, and your device would be unable to play the game if you dared to try and get a remotely decent start. However, thankfully, our generous overlord also created an in-game reroll system that you can buy for real money, and it's not unlimited. This is actual mustache twirling villain behavior. The previous 2 games made terrible mistakes, don't get me wrong, but this was literally just planned this way. They intentionally made the monetization of this game this bad. And now let's get to one of the worst crimes of the entire game. Look at this game's revenue. They shut down Princess Connect Redive for making over $1 million a month, but this game is still up? There are people watching this video that make more money than this whole gacha game. They could overfund the whole game per month. Look at this amount. Who is even funding the game at this point? These 3 games all failed spectacularly hard for different reasons, but we all know that the end reason was greed. Hopefully games like this will eventually lead to less scummy practices among gacha games, or at least be a lesson that you need to put in a little bit more effort to scam us gacha-brained individuals. But let's be real, probably not. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks a bunch for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you liked it, and I hope to see you next time.